I want to go through the individual postures and the individual movements here one at a time and show you some of the transitions, just so you have an idea of the individual points. Now, earlier in the film, you saw, we talked about the different pointers to think about when you're doing the movement and doing the form. You'll see the form done in its entirety, but I think it's useful to go through and, as I'm speaking, talk about some of the pointers in the movements here. And a couple things I want you to remember as we do this is we're supposed to be fun, right? So have fun, relax, don't hold tension, and there's never such a thing as perfection here. We want to make progress, and we want to make sure that we don't get hurt. So we want to go slow, don't push it, and just remember that it's going to take time to do these things. So I'll begin now and looking at the opening movement. So start here with the feet together, and step out, heel first, come up, moving with my whole body as all my joints expand. As I come in, my joints sink, press back out, coming from my feet, out through my hands, sinking back in, and my hands go down as my body goes up. Now moving into the first ward off, which is the holding the chi ball. I move, keeping my head up, keeping my spine straight. I'm tilting on my heel. I roll forward onto the ball of that foot, twist out, and step into the second ward off. All right, notice my knee doesn't go over my foot. That's one of the key things in Tai Chi is it stays stable here. So whether I'm doing this move, okay, my knee doesn't go too far. Over time that will hurt it. So you want to maintain there, and I'm maintaining spine alignment like we talked about earlier. Now I rotate out and I step with that front foot to the second ward off. And in the second ward off, my hands, this gives an opportunity for the energy to go out through the hands and stretch out here. And so again, my weight transfers to that front foot. And so as you'll see it here, coming from the first ward off to the second ward off, I sink back into the roll back movement. Okay, so from the first ward off, holding the chi ball, to the second, my body sinks down. As I come back, weight transfers to the back foot. My hips are opening as I turn. And then I move into the two-hand press. And if you'll notice my hands, my palms are together like this. Okay, they're the fat part, so to speak, of the hands are overlapping. And so as I come back on the roll back, I move forward, keeping that spine up, keeping my tailbone tucked in a little bit, standing upright, I press. And I slowly just sink back slightly, elbows drop, and go into the two-hand push. Alright, so from the roll back, weight goes from the back leg to the front leg, pushing off with that back leg, sink back, two-hand push. So after the two-hand push, I straighten that right leg, not all the way straight, but I straighten it out, and then I move into the single whip movement. And the single whip, I'm not going 180 degrees from here, and I'm going 135 to right here. And notice I don't just move my hands, my whole structure moves. So my belly button, and in all these movements, the pelvis, the belly button is leading the movement. So I keep my eyes, my nose, my head, everything's moving on this single whip. As I go here, I plant that in this case the right foot, and then I form the beak. Okay, so in this single whip movement, come from the 2-hand push, sink back, twist, transfer the weight to the right, come up on the ball of that left foot, form the beak, then the beak strikes out on the perpendicular. And then the step, which is called reaching to heaven, I step out, and I have to step big enough. If I step too shallow, then when I turn, I'll be too narrow. If I step too wide, I'll be too wide when I move into my step. So take the time, over time, to figure out what the appropriate placement of that foot is. So after striking the beak, step out, and now as my hand comes across, that right toe turns on the right heel. Then I put one hand push here. Okay, so from this angle, as I'm forming the beak, strike the beak, step out, one hand push. Okay, and if you'll notice, my elbow's not up too far. This is straight out at 90 degrees from where I'm facing. The one hand push, and the weight is primarily on my lead foot. Alright, from here we sink back, and then we press forward with that right arm. With that lead arm. And then we rotate for the first ward off again. And then we're back to doing the form. So those were the movements. We just went through the movements going in one direction. We will do the left-handed form in the exact same way. One important point that I want to talk about is the transition movement. So as we do the right-handed form all the way around, and we come back here to where we are doing the one-hand push. So instead of sinking back as we've done the whole way, we do a move called holding the baby. And it looks like you're holding a baby, turning, and you go into what is the second ward off on the left-handed side. And then you sink back, roll back, two-hand press, sink back, two-hand push, single whip, 135 degrees, forming the beak, striking the beak, and stepping out as we reach to heaven and do the one-hand push. So that's the one part that's different. We do the same movements as we go around on the right-hand side. Then we do the transition movement, holding the baby. And then we start the same sequence going back around just on the left-hand side. And some points to remember on the left-hand side, we'll go through a few right now, even though they're the same. So we start here, carry the baby, stretching out ever so slightly. I'm not overextending myself, but I'm stretching to the point to where that knee hits. I'm just going to the edge of my body. I'm not going all the way over here. Not too low, not too high. Now this is a martial arts form, and we're not going to cover the martial applications in this video, but it is as if you are, if you look at it as a martial form, fighting someone your same size. So I'm not fighting Goliath or King Kong here. I'm not over here. I'm not here. I'm going to someone my own size. Sink back, roll back, two-hand press, two-hand push, and then single whip on the other side. So I turn that 135 degrees, form the beak, and as I'm forming the beak here, you can stop at any point in the form and check. I'm standing straight up. The weight's all on my left foot here. If you look at the forming the beak, it's right underneath this bottom hand, and it's about level with my shoulder. Alright, so I can strike the beak, step out, reach towards heaven, rotate that back foot, one hand push. Sink back, first ward off, grasping the chi ball, to the second ward off. Okay, so the things that we've covered are repeated on the other side. And remember, take it easy, and remember the points that review those points that we talked about in the earlier segment before you practice, and just focus on one a day, or focus on one for a month, or one for a week. There's no rush here. The joy in Tai Chi is that it is a slow process. So integrate these pointers and tips one at a time, and be easy on yourself. You don't need to be your judge or evaluator. We just want you to feel healthy and have fun. So thanks a lot.